Pontiac Silverdome. Thrilled with last night's action, they're here for round 2 of the Pontiac Supercross.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Supercross on ESPN. I'm Dave Despain with Larry Myers. We're in the Pontiac Silverdome for the second half of a doubleheader, unique in this championship season. You saw the Saturday night race last week, and now, Larry, after very little sleep, the riders and mechanics are all back here for a Sunday afternoon battle, and everybody wondering if Damon Bradshaw can do it again. He sure showed us last night that he's back in championship form.
You know what impresses me, Dave? His mental state of being. He went for a couple of weeks after crashing in Indianapolis with a camera shoved in his face, microphones in his face, and news reporters with pads and pencils, all asking the same question, making the same statement. Bradshaw, you were way out front. Have you thrown the championship away? And you know, for a 19-year-old rider to be that savvy about the whole thing, to be able to put those things aside and say, I'm getting back to business, and do it the way he did, wow, I'm impressed.
He is definitely back to business. He has thrown the championship right back up for grabs. It is Bradshaw, Jean-Michel Bayle, and Jeff Stanton in a virtual deadlock for the title. Now the question, the one that we've been answering or trying to answer, speculating about all year, who's going to come out on top? Which of these three guys has the advantage?
You're saying we've been speculating. You keep dumping that question on me, and I have no answer. I don't know. I want to say, though, the consistency from here on out is going to be the key. That's my opinion. We're looking at 3 riders that are locked into a battle. If there were just 2, then maybe you could count on the other guy to make a mistake. But when you've got 3, you can't count on anything. You're going to have to make your breaks and be consistent from here on out.
Just 5 races remain, counting the one this afternoon. Let's get another opinion on what it might take to win the championship. For that, we'll go to the floor of the Silverdome and the 9-time Pontiac winner, Bob Hurricane Hanna.
Thanks, Dave. Consistency's not going to be enough here. With the riders we're dealing with, seconds and thirds and fourths are not going to cut it. These guys are going to have to get every point they can to win this championship. And I think Bayle, Bradshaw, and Stanton alike will agree. This time to win races and put this championship to bed. One more thing, I'm real glad I'm on the outside looking in, because I think there's going to be an all-out war break out momentarily. Back to you, Dave.
All right, thank you very much, Bob Hanna. Now let's take a look, Larry, at the track on which these guys will do battle this afternoon.
Larry, I guess the upper right-hand screen is the focal point here.
I think so, Dave. They ripped the seats out of the stadium, put some plywood down, filled it full of dirt, so the riders actually run up to the concourse level and then come back down to the track. Elevation change in Supercross.
Here's the defending series champion, Jean-Michel Bayle, hoping that he can get back on top after Bradshaw's victory last night. We'll be right back. We're back at the Pontiac Silverdome, along with all the fans who enjoyed the victory party last night for this guy. Damon Bradshaw scoring his 6th win of the year, including a run of 5 straight earlier in the season. As we take a look at the highlights from the heat races tonight, one of the guys we'll be keeping an eye on is Mike Kudrowski. Has never won a Supercross, but he's been close more and more this year. A lot of people think he's due to win one. And, of course, the man that everybody continues to wonder about is Jean-Michel Bayle. Started slow, but he's come to speed, and we'll see how he does here in heat race number 1 as the field gets set for the first of the qualifying races, and a tremendous amount of pressure to get directly to that main event, Larry.
I put the pressure on Jeff Stanton. This is his hometown crowd, Dave, and you know, you talk to Jeff and you say, does it bother you? And he said, no, I like the pressure, but you know, deep down, he's got to be feeling it. He did move up to 2nd place in the standings with a good, strong 2nd in round 1 of the Pontiac doubleheader, and another finish like that tonight, I think would, boy, I think he'd just be pleased.
Here we go with the first of the qualifying races. The charge is on to turn number 1. Good start for Damon Bradshaw. Number 4, a not-so-good start for his teammate number 8. You saw Doug Dubach in the back of the pack. Number 10, getting out into 2nd spot, is Larry Ward, and it'll be a Yamaha versus Suzuki battle in the early going here. But when Bradshaw gets a hole shot, he's tough.
He is definitely tough. He has one right now. This is a tough track to pass. I want to quickly point out, we're looking at heat action that took place earlier today. I mentioned Stanton. He's not in this heat. He'll be in the following heat, Dave.
Up into 3rd spot goes Jean-Michel Bayle, the series champion, looking at his 2 rivals up front and debating whether to go ahead and make a move or not. We'll find out right now whether he elects to do that as he closes into the rear wheel of Larry Ward and says, I'm going to try the high line. Nothing there through the whoop-de-doos. He is so smooth, and he's really keeping the pressure on Larry.
And Jean-Michel Bayle is, I have to think, the smartest racer going right now. This is heat race competition. He's going to follow, but unless there is an absolute avenue and a highway to get through, he's going to be content to transfer into the main event. I don't think you'll see him take any unnecessary chances.
Lap rider a factor there as Bale's line was blocked, and that allowed Ward to open up a little more separation. And you're exactly right. If this were the main event, Bale would take the chances. Damon Bradshaw sitting out front doing exactly what he did through much of the early season, dominating the competition. Then a crash in Indianapolis that derailed his hopes temporarily. A couple of nice flickers for the winner, Bradshaw. And the runner-up, Ward. Bale settles for a comfortable third ahead of Kedrowski. Let's go trackside to Bob Hanna and hear from the winner.
Damon, I might have spoke too early when I said you'll never beat my record in Pontiac. You look like you're going to do a pretty good job of it.
Yeah, I feel real good. You know, I got off to a good start, and I just try to ride smooth and save some energy. You know, the main event's going to be tough, so, yeah, I feel good.
Looks like I said before, you've got him covered.
Yeah, I think so.
Good luck.
Thanks a lot.
Ever confident, Damon Bradshaw, the hometown favorite, Jeff Stanton. The man Larry Myers says will be motivated to win here tonight. He definitely made a big step in the right direction by taking over the point lead, and there's the characteristic moment of thought before the race, eyes closed. Here is Jeff Matasevich, and what a comeback he's making from a broken femur. A lot of people said he had no business even trying to ride this season, but he's been a front runner much of the year. On the left, Guy Cooper. On the right, Mike LaRocco, who opened the season with a victory at Orlando and has not since been able to find winning form. Perhaps tonight here. Also, the closest this series comes to his hometown. He's an Indiana boy.
Mike LaRocco has been plagued all year long with a wrist injury. He had it taken care of. It was operated on, but it's my understanding, and this comes from the secret words in the pits, you know, you hear them in the backgrounds, that is still not quite right, and it's affecting his riding.
We'll see how he does in heat race number 2 as they launch toward turn 1. And a nice move by Guy Cooper will put him into the lead. He gets the whole shot. A little bit of a traffic jam behind him. Typical Supercross competition. The name of the game is to try to put 10 gallons of motorcycles in a 5-gallon bucket. Number 17 is Jeremy McGrath. He's just a kid, but he's a good kid, and you're going to see him in pretty good form right here. Cooper jumps out front, and maybe we'll get a chance to see why they call him airtime, Larry.
I think we will, Dave, seeing as how we have already looked at these tapes, and this is a highlight package. McGrath really impresses me. You know, here he's holding off Jeff Stanton, but he's a 125 specialist from the West Coast. That will all change starting 1993. You're going to see him on top of a 250cc machine in Supercross and probably outdoor competition. But he has cut his teeth, and I would say 99% of his riding has been on a 125. Boy, is he adapting well or what?
Just to clarify, he's riding the 250 here tonight because this is an Eastern region race. Out west, he's battling for the 125 championship, but when they come east, he gets the opportunity to move up and ride with the big guys. And talking about big guys, sandwiched between Guy Cooper and Jeff Stanton, he's contesting with two of the most experienced Supercross riders in the business, and he's putting some pretty good heat on Cooper, although Cooper either doesn't know he's back there or couldn't care less.
He's got to know he's there, but you know what? We're still looking at this tight track situation, and to pass, you're going to have to force some kind of an issue here, and that's another sign of maturity that impresses me about McGrath. He's looking for a hole, but he's not going to force the issue. Making the main event is what it's all about.
Got to remember your place, too, when you're racing with guys like this. You don't want to make enemies when you're still a teenager. But in any case, I'm not sure he could put pressure on
Look at that.
Look at this.
That's not the kind of action you pull in a heat race, but especially when there's someone hot on your heels. But Cooper's that guy just loves to ride motorcycles.
And he loves the crowd, loves to play to the crowd. He's 30 years old. He knows that he's not going to be the champion of this series, but is he happy to be out there leading this qualifier and leading it impressively over the kid, number 17, McGrath, and the two-time champion, Jeff Stanton. Great ride for Cooper. Good job by McGrath. Stanton, not terribly impressive, but in the main, and that's what he needed. Dubach rounds out the order, and let's hear from the happy winner.
Guy Cooper, you fell off a little bit in practice. It hurt your hand. It definitely didn't look like it was bothering you that round.
Well, when the gate drops, you can put up with quite a bit. I just jammed it a little bit. It's hurting a little bit whenever I'm sitting on the bike, but, you know, when the gate drops, adrenaline flows, and you're going. So.
Do you have to look forward to a ride like that in the main event tonight?
I'd like to get the start like I had that time. Now I dialed it in just perfect, and it's one of my best starts all year long, so I'd like to put that together for the main event.
Do you need a start like that to win the race?
This track's difficult to pass on, and I'm not so good in the long set of whoops, and so if I have the lead off the start and back it off in the whoops, I don't know if anybody will be able to pass me there or not. I feel good everywhere else, but it's going to be tough for me.
Good luck.
Thanks, Bob.
All right, Cooper is in the feature. These guys are all in the semifinal, which is at the gate and ready to roll. We'll have the highlights when we come back. Back in Pontiac, the Silverdome, the home of the Detroit Lions football team. Tonight, the home for championship motorcycle racing. We're into the semifinals, and 5 riders will be moving up. It's not the last chance. If you can't make it out of here, there's one more opportunity. Boy, you don't want to have to ride every race on the racetrack. So these guys are going for it from the drop of the gate.
Top 5 riders, Dave, moving into the main event. That's where you have to be when the checkered flag is thrown in the semifinal.
We take a look up front and see that number 8, Jeff Emig, who led the season opener for a good while, is out front here with number 11, Denny Stevenson, coming back from injury. Number 30, Larry Brooks, and a good, healthy lead for Emig, who, again, I guess it's youth, Larry. The consistency's not there. He's got the speed, but he doesn't have it every week.
I don't think anyone has ever figured that out, if you could bottle it. Here, looking at a pass attempt, Kyle Lewis tries to get underneath Jimmy Eichel, and I think Eichel maybe did a brake check. That's where you hit the brake, and the guy behind you has to come to a complete stop. He stalled his motor, got going again, but Eichel was successful. I started to say, Dave, excuse me for interrupting myself, the inconsistency factor, if we could figure it out and bottle it, man, we'd make $1 million, wouldn't we?
You bet. Kyle Lewis is going to try it again as he and Eichel have a great race here. 4th, 4th, and 5th. And that's why it's so critical. This is the race for the final transfer spot. Mike Fisher is number 14, lurking behind, hoping these guys will knock each other off and that he will then inherit that transfer position. As we continue to follow this battle, new face moving up into the picture.
That's rider number 29, Keith Johnson, another KTM rider. Good to point out, Mike Fisher is going in for a shoulder surgery a couple of days after the main event here tonight. I have to wonder what kind of incentive it is for him to go out and beat himself up. Not been riding well, it's been bothering him. Look, Fisher takes over the number 5 position. He just shoved his way past Eichel, who bobbled. And, Dave, that was a final transfer spot.
He gets the transfer that'll put him into the main event if he can hang on to it, which means, of course, he's got to ride 20 more laps before he gets that shoulder.
Yeah, with that bad shoulder. I wonder if he's sitting there counting and saying, oh, did I just make a mistake?
Hey, these guys are racers. They're going to go for it. Emig wins the race handily, as he really had no competition there. This is the guy who did not survive that battle. Number 29, Keith Johnson, will have to ride the last chance qualifier, and only 2 riders out of that are going to make it to the feature event. The results show Emig, Stevenson, Brooks, Lewis, and Fisher grabbing transfer spots. Let's go to Bob Hanna, who's with Jeff Emig.
Jeff, nobody's been making that inside starting line work tonight. You did a good job of it. Tell us about why you picked that spot.
Well, me and my team manager, Keith McCarty, we talked it over, and we said that that's a real good, safe place to start, but you have to get out of the gate. If not, you're going to go up the finish line jump, and that ain't the way to get the whole shot.
You made it work?
Well, I made it work. You know, my Yamaha was running real well, and it got me out there, and I was first one into the first turn. I almost went wide. You know, I had to get on the binder pretty hard.
Good luck in the main.
Thanks, Bob.
Second semifinal. Number 23, Ronnie Tishner, has gone this route to the main event on a couple of occasions this year. And if he's going to do that this time, he's got to deal with these 2 fellows, the Kawasaki teammates. Mike Rocco, number 7, and Jeff Matasevich, number 9. Both find themselves in the semifinal round of competition for tonight's championship main event. Again, the top 5 moving up to challenge Damon Bradshaw in the feature. Field coming set, eyes on the gate. Gate drops and they're underway. Tishner's usually quick off the start, but he was hamburger there. He'll end up in the middle of the pack as the Kawasaki's charge to the front. Let's see who's going to come out with the lead. It'll be Matasevich over Michael Craig, number 59, another Kawasaki rider who really focuses his attention on the so-called Mickey Thompson Ultra Cross Series. He's the champion of that campaign, run on similar tracks. And here he's looking good in the second semi of the AMA Supercross Series.
You know, Craig is one of the riders that, if you take a look at his performance in the early part of the season and look at him now, you'll see a vast improvement. He's one of the young guys that have really, I think, taken the lessons from the rest of the field and doing very well. Now, here's the opposite end of the spectrum. Mike LaRocco, rider number 7. He's back in the pack. He started out the season red hot, and he's going backwards. And you have to wonder, as he challenges Jeff Glass, you have to wonder if the wrist problem that LaRocco is suffering is keeping him back there.
Well, it's not going to keep him behind Glass for long as he grabs the good line here. See how Glass jumps a little higher? LaRocco gets back on the ground quicker, and that means he gets the power on the ground and pulls off the pass, and so Jeff Glass slips his spot. LaRocco moves closer to the championship main event. But I think you're right, Larry. This is not the same rider who won the first main event of the year.
No, indeed he's not. That pass that he just put on Jeff Glass put him into the number 3 position. He's going to qualify. That's not the problem. It's running up front. He's just not been able to handle that week in and week out. So LaRocco's in third, Glass back and forth. Here comes Ronnie Tishner, rider number 23. You talked about him earlier, Dave.
Critical move, too, because this is a tangle here for 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. And remember, only 5 move up. So that's 4 guys going for 2 spots. If LaRocco pulls away from him, Tishner is now in 5th spot, and he's got Kurt McMillan behind him to deal with. But I get the feeling that Tishner's going to the front. McMillan may just be holding his own.
Yeah, if we put it on a piece of paper, put the stats, but however you want to measure it, Ronnie Tishner is the class of that group of riders. No question about that. He's aboard the Tough Racing Suzuki.
So Glass is now holding on because he is in that last transfer spot. Matasevich is up front and cruising, but he's got Craig right on his rear wheel here. Yeah, he's got him covered, but Craig was not that far behind. As Matasevich puts the win in the book, heat races are one thing, main events are another. Ask Mike LaRocco, and Tishner's making a run at him. Comes up about 2 bike lengths short as they grab the 3rd and 4th spots. Jeff Glass did hang on to round out the running order for the main event. Let's hear from Jeff Chicken Matasevich.
Well, we were talking earlier that you said you needed a whole shot to win this thing, and you got it.
Yeah, this track, the start is like 99% of the stuff. The race here tonight, you know, everyone's going about the same speed. It just matters if you get stuck behind a slower rider or not. He slows you up and the faster riders pull away. So the start's really crucial. It's not that good of a first turn.
Well, we better get a good start in the main there, Jeff.
I sure hope so, Bob.
Kawasaki of Matasevich is headed for the main, along with the 2 KTMs of Keith Johnson and Mark Musselman, who came out as 1-2 in the last chance qualifier. Damon Bradshaw won last night, got the sleep that he could in the time available, and now we'll try to make it a sweep in the Pontiac doubleheader. If he can do that, he'll be back on top of this championship. We're back in the Pontiac Silverdome, an incredible sense of drama surrounding this 125 main event. If Brian Swink falls off 6 or 7 times, he may not win the championship.
That's here tonight. He still has a couple more chances.
Look at the standings. Swink needs 17th place tonight to clinch the championship over Jimmy Button. But it's not a bad battle from their back. Button, Henry, Peterson, Karsten. But this will be a coronation for number 1. He's the defending champion. He's from nearby Fenton, Michigan. He won last night. That was his 6th victory in 8 starts, and he can clinch the championship here this afternoon. So it's very much the Brian Swink story, and the question whether or not anybody can even compete with him. Jimmy Button here on the near side has been one of his primary rivals all year. Let's see who gets the whole shot. Charge to turn number 1. Look out. Swink's right up front as the field funnel in and trouble off going on. Indeed, Tim Ferry and Shane Lawson are on the ground, and actually they're just part of the crash because up in front of them, Dave Owens and Chris Brown and Blaine Armbruster all hit the deck as part of the same tangle. So for the back markers, it's trouble, and for the front runner, hey, it's a piece of cake. It is indeed the number 1 rider out front, up through that tricky uphill section goes the leader, Brian Swink.
After Swink had won 4 in a row, he started to slack. I mean, there's another problem area right at the top of that hill that we talked about at the track diagram. Doug Henry, who is out of camera range, and that was Mike Brown, number 54. 2 good riders that were involved, Dave.
Brian Swink came shooting through clean, takes the green. First call of the season for number 71, Junior Jackson, who's running in that number 2 spot. Number 250, Grayson Goodman, is up front for the 2nd time in 2 races. He had a good night last night here in the Silverdome. Swink is in clear command of the race. There's one more guy here that you got to consider, and we'll get a glimpse of him in a moment. I saw him come. There he is right there. Number 117 is 16-year-old Ezra Lusk, and he is on the move. He is Swink's teammate, and he's on the rear wheel of Goodman, and we talked earlier about speed and inconsistency. This kid has a lot of both.
You know, I really thought that this may have been the night that Lusk could win his first Supercross ever in pro competition, only because I thought maybe Swink would play it a little bit slow, play it a little cozy, try to get the points and nail the championship. It's not happening unless Lusk comes up to challenge.
It's going to be tough because you've heard several guys refer to the fact that it's a difficult track on which to pass, and Swink is out with the whole shot while Lusk got away 5th, has now moved up to 4th. This is the 3rd and 4th place race. He's put pressure on Goodman. He's trying to get around. He's trying to go to the front. Ezra Lusk is clearly one of the superstars of the future. There's the little block path.
Yeah, that's the reason why he figures out moves like that, and he's not afraid to make them. The guy is extremely aggressive.
That aggressiveness, of course, is what marked Damon Bradshaw when he was coming up. Look at that move. He's around Junior Jackson and into 2nd spot in less than a couple of straightaways. When you can make passes like that, it marks you as a guy headed for the front. Now the question is, can he catch Swink?
Interesting question. When he catches Swink, you know, that's what I'm going to be eager to see. Yeah, I think he'll catch Swink. I don't think Swink is running at 110%. Lusk is right now. Swink is just riding within himself. As we take a look at the rest of the field coming up, they're out of it. It's between Swink and Lusk. They're the only two guys that I have a prayer in this one. Here's the battle for 3rd.
Grayson Goodman out of Texas and Junior Jackson out of Moline, Illinois have it at it for 3rd and 4th spot. But the guy who deserves a call here is the 2nd-ranked rider in the series. Jimmy Button is right behind these guys, running in 6th, battling for 5th. As Goodman hangs on to that 3rd spot. Looks to me to be just a little faster than Jackson, and indeed Jackson is going to come under pressure now because here is Button making up for the bad start. He's up to 5th and trying to get 4th.
And Jimmy Button about 6'4", 5 inches tall as Jackson makes a mistake, and I thought it was going to cost him, but he recovered nicely, and Button had to take that outside line a little bit further to go on the racetrack, so Jackson was able to hold onto the number 4 position. Button, incidentally, is the only rider to have won in this 125 Eastern Regional Division other than Brian Swink.
He's won 2 in a row, in fact, when Swink kind of slacked off a little in mid-season, but now Jimmy is clearly on the charge and shows Jackson the wheel. Give Jackson a lot of credit. He's holding his own against the 2nd-ranked rider in the series. This is the race for 4th and 5th. Junior's not giving up an inch.
Well, that's what 125 racing is all about. Next year, these guys will be on 250. They're practicing their trade now. Good move on Button's part. Squared that corner off, and a shot to the inside. Jackson had nowhere to go.
We'll be back with more of the action right after this. In the 125 championship main event, and the man on the move is number 39. Jimmy Button is now within a bike length of 3rd spot. Grayson Goodman is under pressure. Up front, Brian Swink continues to dominate the competition. And this is the best battle on the racetrack right now.
Indeed it is. And the question, as we hit that bridge section where Button made the pass just a few moments ago that put him into that number 4 position on Junior Jackson, we wonder if the same thing will happen. Will he set him up and try it there, or is there somewhere else on the track? Because they do study the lines of the guy in front of them, and they try to anticipate where they're going. And Button knows that under that bridge, he has a clear track through there. We'll have to wait and see, and maybe, who knows, maybe Goodman's going to run away and stay out in front.
He certainly pulled a little advantage right there, obviously getting the wake-up call when Button got up there, showed him the wheel. He heard the motor behind him and said, hey, time to cook it up a little bit, and he managed to pull out, 8-10 bike lengths. So perhaps certainly Button is not running at the speed that we've seen him run in some of the earlier races.
No, and I have no explanation as to why he cut that pace down. And again, here's the battle now that's starting to shape up in the number 1 position. Ezra Lusk has moved up to challenge. Now, they're both Team Suzuki riders. If you're the Suzuki manager and you see the guy about to win the championship holding that number 1 plate out front, and here comes this kid who's wild and aggressive, what do you tell him?
They don't have radios, so he can't tell him anything. There's the battle. We go back to that battle now. Here it looks like a move here by Button. He is caught back up with Goodman and is in position to challenge. Goodman is very good right there, coming out of that right-hander. He gets a nice rhythm for that set of whoops. That's where he pulled away the last lap. This time he can't get away. Button is there to pressure him.
Button now less than a bike length. Whoa, a downhill move. Where did he find that? Button
going downhill. Gaston, and he takes over third.
Look at Lusk right on the rear wheel of Brian Swink. Cased him just a little bit there. Loses a little ground, but clearly putting pressure on Swink. I think you're right. I think Swink is not running 100% here. I also think that it does indeed have to make the Suzuki guys nervous because Lusk wants to win.
Indeed he wants to win. Look at this. He's all over the racetrack. I think if I'm Brian Swink and I look behind me and see him, I think I'd get out of the way.
I think I'd let him go in a heartbeat, man. I'd want to win that championship. Swink's only got to be 17th to claim the title, which is the big plum. He's got plenty of race wins this year. This would be his 7th if he gets it. And Lusk, I'll tell you what, he's certainly not a kamikaze. I wouldn't accuse him of that, but he's right on the ragged edge of control.
Well, now, earlier in this race, I started to talk about Brian Swink winning 4, then losing 2. He had the championship, I feel he had the championship well in hand, and he said, hey, I'm just going to get the points. But he didn't like the things that people were saying after he lost a couple.
Well, you know, 2 weeks ago, I had in my mind that I was going to win the championship. I lost 2 races in a row. Everyone was saying they were better than me. They thought them guys were getting faster, and it wasn't true. I just wasn't riding hard. So, you know, I wanted to prove to them that I was the best and gave my respect back.
Well, he's been the best all season long. Whether he'll be the best today is still very much to be determined because Ezra Lusk is there to put the pressure on the defending champion, Brian Swink. And this will likely be some sort of a changing of the guard scenario because Lusk is clearly the 125 star for next year.
I'm eager for the final 125 race of the year, Dave. It's going to be an East-West shootout. We're going to see the best from the East, the best from the West, and that means Jeremy McGrath, the Western champion, is going to go head-to-head with Brian Swink. That should be a great 125cc contest.
Laps beginning to wind down here in Pontiac, and for the moment, the Lusk attack is at least a half dozen bike lengths in arrears, and Swink seems to have control of the event. Perhaps he has picked up the tempo a little bit. We'll be back for the finish. The battle for the lead is number 1, Brian Swink. Number 117, Ezra Lusk. Loose and strong, the signal for Swink. You can. The indication to Lusk. You can catch him. You can pass him. And he's only got a lap and a half to do it.
You know, the two mechanics, they're friends. Obviously, they're Suzuki teammates as well as these two guys are. I just keep looking for this conflict and this bump and shove. And look at Lusk. He's all over him. But I keep waiting for the conflict, the shove, and now they're side by side through that rough whoop, and Lusk takes over the number 1 position, and Swink comes right back. Unbelievable race action.
And a traffic jam to boot. They're running through lap riders. Swink looks back over his shoulder. Here comes Lusk now trying that inside line, switching to the outside, putting the pressure on. Tremendous battle between the reigning champion and his young teammate as they set to decide it on the final lap of this 125 main event. Is Swink trying to figure out where Lusk is going to go? Why is he looking back, Larry?
I think he's looking back, wondering where he's going to get hit from. That's what I think. Look, he's looking at him again. I don't think he's concerned about where he's going to go. I think he's concerned about, is he going to land on me? And here comes Lusk right back. Swink should let him go, but he's not going to. Look at this.
He's determined to win the championship by winning the race. There's a mistake by Lusk. A big bobble as he got her crossways and loses at least 5 or 6 bike lengths. That may be the moment in which Brian Swink won the race because now Lusk is going to have to be desperate. Oh, no, and he blew it right there. He got out of shape, and it's all over.
It is all over. You know, I was hoping we had a camera on the mechanics. I started to talk about that because I was waiting for the bump, the shove, the knockdown, and I think they would have dropped their boards, and they probably would have gone at it right in the pitch. They're very protective of their riders.
Well, Swink is going to win it handily, but not until Lusk put on a tremendous charge, a tremendous challenge. But now with just a couple of corners to go, Swink will not only be champion, he is winner and still champion. Swink successfully defends his title over the advances of young Ezra Lusk, who is first to congratulate him. Swink, the race winner. Swink, the champion. Lusk, the heir apparent to Eastern Regional supremacy in 1993. And there are your 1-2 finishers. Great afternoon for Team Suzuki.
Yeah, great afternoon for the fans. We saw some great racing. It was really tremendous. Lusk did congratulate him, you know, but it was one of those slappers like, geez, I really screwed up. He's not smiling under that helmet at all, and Swink has to be awfully happy.
He's only 16 years old. He has nothing to be ashamed of here. The fans appreciative of 2 great performances On their feet for the hometown boy, Fenton, Michigan's Brian Swink clinches the championship in front of the adoring Michigan throng here this afternoon. Lusk is happy as well. They have turned in a memorable performance, a memorable day of Supercross competition. Boy, they like Swink here in Michigan. And like you, Larry, I'm looking forward to that showdown coming up later this year when the East meets the West and Swink gets his opportunity to do battle with Jeremy McGrath. He's urging him on.
Let's throw Ezra Lusk into that battle, because then all of the wraps will be off. Championships are decided, and I think that one is a go for it. Do whatever you have to go. Lusk could be a factor.
Swink and Lusk beat Jimmy Button, Jeff DeMent, and Doug Henry, rounding out the top 10. Mike Brown, Goodman, Pedersen, Karsten, and Edwards. Bob Hanna is with the champion and the challenger.
We know you guys are friends and your teammates. When you're going at it like that, is there any hesitation on passing the other rider?
Well, yeah, I'm going to try to pass him, do anything I can, you know. I'm not going to run into him and knock him down, especially when I got this big a lead in the series.
How about you, Ezra?
Yeah, Brian's got the championship wrapped up now. I didn't want to play dirty or anything with him. I want to take no chances of taking the championship away from him because he worked too hard this year for it. And we got it home for Suzuki now. We got 1-2 today, and hopefully I can win the rest of them for Suzuki.
Both of you guys, that was a fantastic race. I don't think I've seen better. Good luck.
Yeah, thanks a lot. You know, I'm happy just to win the championship, especially here in front of the hometown. You know, it was great.
You only needed 4 points. Why did you go after it so hard? Because of the hometown?
Yeah, kind of. You know, I just got the start, and I rode fast as I could. My arms pumped a little bit, I guess because of nerves, maybe. Ezra caught up to me, and he rode an excellent race.
Congratulations on this championship, Brian.
Thanks a lot.
Swink has clinched. There you see the margin. Button, Henry, Pedersen, and Lusk will have one more opportunity to score points at the Dallas race, a combined East-West affair. Swink will have the option of climbing on a 250 for the rest of the season to gain experience for next year, because he has successfully defended his 125 championship. We'll be back with the 250s. In the 125 class, Brian Swink is the hometown hero. As we go to the 250 main event, this is the man the Michigan fans will pull for. Jeff Stanton, two-time series champ, has never won here. Let's go back and recap what happened last night. As the 250 main event launched for turn one, Stanton, hoping for a great start, instead number 2 is involved in this huge tangle. Equally significant, number 1, Jean-Michel Bale, his Team Honda counterpart, is in the midst of it as well.
Yeah, the big difference, Stanton was able to slide on by, and Jean-Michel Bale had to hang around for a while and wait the motorcycles untangle themselves, Dave.
Good guys in the back. Look who gets to the front. Number 30, Larry Brooks, leads Damon Bradshaw, who puts a pass on Mike Jones. For Brooks and Jones, a rare opportunity to head up the Supercross competition. For Damon Bradshaw, as he goes after Brooks for the lead, a great opportunity to pile up points here while the Honda guys are in trouble. Now, Bale was impressive. He came from 16th all the way back to 7th, but that was not enough to preserve the championship point lead that he brought to Michigan. Guy Cooper said after his heat race, with a good start, he felt he could win the main event. He didn't get a great start, but he came up, put a move on number 30 Brooks, and took over second spot. So for a while, there was a question of whether he might be able to run down Bradshaw. The big question, though, was Jeff Stanton, number 2. Could he recover from that first turn bobble and perhaps win the race? And boy, he was impressive as he charged, Larry.
He was impressive. One of the more impressive things is you think back a year ago when a crash by being aggressive on the same racetrack put him out of contention for the title. How do you knock that out of your mind, Dave, and come back and get on the motorcycle and go right back out there and be aggressive all over again?
Well, Stanton's got that ability. He is a bulldog. He puts Cooper behind him, drops Guy to 3rd, and Guy did his best to get rid of that spot right here. A well-trained motorcycle, sat there and idled till he was ready to go again. Cooper picks it up, doesn't even lose a spot. But up front, it is all Bradshaw. 5 wins in a row early in the year. He comes back and wins in Stanton's hometown. That avenges the loss to Team Honda when they were back in Damon's hometown of Charlotte earlier this year. Stanton was second, moves into the point lead. Bradshaw and Bale tied for second place in the points after last night's action. And so we come here for the finale this afternoon. Jeff Emig, ready at the gate. 250 main event, ready to rock and roll here as the top stars of Supercross wind up a long and grueling weekend. The fatigue's got to be a factor.
Yeah, there's rider fatigue, mechanic fatigue, motorcycle fatigue. Nothing has a chance to be put back to normal when you have a doubleheader like this one here in the Silverdome, Dave. Usually you have a week in between, so it could take its toll here.
As the gate drops, we'll find out who's got the endurance. The charge to turn one. Looks like Kedrowski might get a start. Big tangle back in the back, and that will leave Guy Cooper on the ground. What a tough way to start a 20-lap main event. Cooper's in the back. Tischner got around Mike Kedrowski to take the lead. It's the Suzuki number 23 out front with Mike Motocross Kid Kedrowski in that number 2 spot. He's been close, but he hasn't won a Supercross race yet this year. Bradshaw is third, and we'll check the progress of the Honda guys. No duplication of last night's turn 1 disaster. They've still got some catching up to do today as Tischner, the Florida boy, takes advantage of that early lead and tries to get away from him. That's tough to do, though.
Yeah, Jeff Stanton is back away in the pack, and so is Jean-Michel Bale. You got to look at this and say it's history unless Bradshaw makes some kind of a mistake. I don't see anyone up there to challenge him.
Boy, Stanton's about 13th or 14th you saw in that field summary shot. Change of leadership as Kedrowski goes to the front. Bradshaw starts to put pressure on number 23 Tischner, and by my count, Bale, there's the pass. He's into second. By my count, look for Bale back there in about 10th spot. So Bradshaw has another great opportunity here. One man between him and a 7th victory of the season, and about 8 guys between him and the Honda team behind him, the men with whom he must battle for the championship. Bradshaw has had great luck in Michigan.
He has indeed. He won here 2 years running coming into Pontiac, then of course winning the first half of that doubleheader. That's 3 years in a row that he has at least won in Pontiac. And Bob Hanna mentioned he's won 9 here, and maybe Bradshaw is going to start a string that one day will approach that 9. Who knows? Right now, though, he has his hands full trying to get around Kedrowski. And Dave, you said at the outset Kedrowski had never won one of these things. Maybe this is tonight. I'll tell you what, he's never going to have a better opportunity.
Jeff Stanton made the observation early this year that he thought Kedrowski was a man with the potential to win races, but what he needed was a good start. Well, he's got the whole field behind him tonight, so it's his to win or lose. But boy, how'd you like to have an inspired Damon Bradshaw breathing down your neck at this juncture?
I don't think I'd like that at all. Not at all.
Bradshaw's pattern during the 5-race win streak that he put together early this year was to get the whole shot, get out front within a lap or a lap and a half. He's not been able to do that here tonight. Larocco has made a move on Tischner, and so sore wrist and all. Mike is up to 3rd spot, and that's a good charge for him. This could be a great night for Kawasaki.
Now here comes Jeff Matasevich, rider number 9. Matasevich has had a history, and the history being only this season that I'm talking about, riding strong in the early laps and then fading in the latter laps. However, Matasevich, as the season wore on, has been getting stronger all night. You know, and we might see Matasevich make a run here.
Well, he certainly made a run by Tischner right there to take over 4th spot. Of course, the reason that Matasevich was fading early in the season was that he couldn't train all winter. He was out with a broken leg. It's remarkable. Many people feel that he's even in competition this year. The leader, Kedrowski, the 125 national champion, riding the 250 here in Supercross competition and whipping the best in the business for the moment. And meanwhile, we watch Jean-Michel Bale come charging through traffic. He is around number 30, Larry Brooks, picking up another position. Bale has been under tremendous pressure here in Michigan. He responded well last night with a lot of passes. Looks like he's prepared to do that again here today. We'll be back with the Kedrowski-Bradshaw battle in a moment. The progress of series champion Jean-Michel Bale up to 7th from 10th. Tischner is going the wrong direction. He was the leader. He's now back to 6th as they work their way up into the stands. Now back down the other side. No time to stop for a hot dog, though, because Bale, himself a hot dog, is headed for the front of this field. in contention for the championship, he needs those points.
He definitely does. And last night it was his turn to suffer at the back part of the pack, trying to pick off riders, pick up 1, 2 points, whatever he possibly could manage. And tonight it's Jeff Stanton's turn to do that same thing. So the Honda guys are giving Bradshaw a break. Instead of double teaming him, you know, with top finishes both nights, they're going to allow Bradshaw to sneak back up and into that points lead.
Meanwhile, Bradshaw cannot get around Kudrowski, and that too is significant. I think it demonstrates that the rest of the field are coming up to Damon's level. Here is Stanton as he works his way along with Doug Dubach and Larry Ward. He is certainly not where he wanted to be. In his scenario, this would be the weekend he would finally win the Silverdome Supercross. Huge leap past Ward, and Stanton is into 11th spot. It's a long way to the front, but again, points are critical. He's got to ride real smart right here.
He does. You know what? He has to be aggressive. You have to do that on this track in order to make the passes, and you have to be cautious because the track is treacherous, and he makes one wrong move, and he's going to be down on the ground, and that would be a disaster, an absolute disaster. Meanwhile, Mike Kudrowski continues to hold off Damon Bradshaw. What a job he's doing.
He's been very impressive here tonight. Bradshaw, the Charger, has the opportunity to take over the point lead. There is every reason to think that he is a highly motivated racer, but he has not matched Kudrowski's speed tonight, and that is impressive. That is a first this season. We're seeing the best of Mike Kudrowski. Meanwhile, Jeremy McGrath, number 17, is about to be challenged by the best in Supercross. The reigning champion, Jean-Michel Bale, is 6th, working on McGrath, who is an impressive 5th tonight. If Swink winning the 125 class is a great show, this kid running 5th in the 250 is pretty good as well. Make that 6.
Did you see that? How did he do that so effortlessly? Jean-Michel Bale is unbelievable.
Up front it is Kudrowski. The man behind him is Damon Bradshaw. When Damon won 5 in a row earlier this year, people suggested that perhaps he should park on that point lead and protect it. Then a couple of bad races, and now he came to this weekend determined to get back in the lead.
Yeah, I'm going to let it hang on the edge. You know, I'm going to have to do everything it takes to win. You know, there's definitely no points for me to pad, so I'm going for it.
I've been waiting for him to go for it. Indeed, he's closed up to within 3 or 4 bike lengths, but Bradshaw has not really put significant pressure on Kudrowski thus far.
Well, he knows where the competition is behind him. He knows the competition is Stanton and Bale. And as long as they're not pushing him, I think that he'll wait, bide his time, look for some kind of a passing situation that would avoid conflicts, would avoid bumping and shoving, Dave. Come down to the last 2-3 laps, I'm not so sure that he'll give Mike Kudrowski that kind of leeway. I think he'll go for it then.
You saw Bale put a pass on Kudrowski's teammate Matasevich to pick up another spot. Damon remains the question. A victory here puts him in the championship point lead, depending on what happens to the Hondas behind Silverdome. The laps winding down. Dave Despain, Larry Myers, and Bob Hanna bringing you the excitement of Supercross on ESPN. And here comes Damon Bradshaw looking for the leader, Mike Kudrowski. He's alongside, and he's got the spot. What a move.
He was just waiting until the final laps, then he forced the issue. Bradshaw is riding extremely smart at this particular time. Look, he's already opened up 5-6 bike lengths between himself and Kudrowski. Obviously, Dave, he was just sitting back and biding his time.
First time this year we've really seen Damon do that. We've not seen Damon as the
what are you saying here?
Patience.
You're not going to sugarcoat this, are you, Dave?
Well, I'm impressed, frankly, because that's the kind of smarts that makes a champion. When you sit back and pick your spot. Thus far this season, Bradshaw has just been a charge, win kind of guy that got him in trouble. He crashed in Indianapolis. He hurt himself. He lost the lead. He looked in danger of losing the championship. He came back here today and showed that he's got championship smarts as he puts a move on Kudrowski and takes the lead. And in the middle of a traffic jam, he will now try to hold on to the victory. Meanwhile, Bale will try to get to 3rd as he works on Mike LaRocco. And he gets tangled up with the lap rider Larry Ward, and that'll cost him some ground.
It cost him 4, 5, maybe 6. Oh, look at the gap now between them. He was right on LaRocco's rear wheel. That definitely will cost Bale some ground. Whether or not he can catch up, that's the word right now with laps. Whoa, and Bradshaw Bradshaw almost threw it away on that finish line jump.
Well, Bradshaw picked up the tempo to get around Kudrowski, and the tempo almost took him out as he definitely overshot that jump and missed that hay bale by inches. Here is the race for 5th and 6th. Number 9, Jeff Matasevich, trying to hold off the 17 of Jeremy McGrath. Here you see the gap from Bradshaw back to Kudrowski, and if you think that's a big interval, we'll stick that interval clock on the rest of the field here in a moment and show you how far behind the rest of them are. Kudrowski set a blistering pace, keeping Bradshaw at bay through most of this main event. Bradshaw finally went around to take the lead. Now here comes Kudrowski, but look at the gap. These are all lapped riders that you see here. Larry Ward a lap down. Here comes Larry Brooks. Way back here is Mike LaRocco, number 7, some 13 seconds behind the lead battle. And Jean-Michel Bale, who was close to LaRocco a moment ago, number 1, has given up the chase. He will settle for 4th as Damon Bradshaw cruises the final lap of the Silverdome and takes the championship point lead. Big afternoon in the career of the Charlotte, North Carolina 19-year-old who would be champion of Supercross.
Take a look at the points, Dave. You get 25 points for finishing in the number 1 position. Then it drops down to 22. 3rd place gets 20 points, and 4th place 18. So that move that we witnessed a lap or so ago when Bale had to fall back off the pace is going to cost him a minimum of 2 points. And that could be a telltale situation when we get to the end of the season. 2 points, a lot of points. Bradshaw takes the checkered flag.
Kudrowski a solid 2nd here this afternoon. 2nd again. He really wants to win one of these things. Bradshaw stops to salute the fans. They came here to see Jeff Stanton win. Bradshaw stole his thunder in the state of Michigan. A bow to the crowd. Damon is back. Bradshaw, Kudrowski, LaRocco, Bale, and Matasevich, the top 5. And the big story is Jeff Stanton back in 7th spot behind McGrath, ahead of Tishner, Emig, and Craig. Let's talk to the winner.
Damon, it seems like you've got your winning streak back. Do you think you're going to outdo that 5?
I don't know, Bob. I'm looking at race by race. I'm just going to go out there with an open head like I did tonight and see what the outcome of the race is.
Do you think you're going to need quite a few more wins to wrap up this series?
Yeah, definitely. It's not going to be over to that last race, so I'm looking at race by race and wait to the end of the series.
That looked great tonight, Damon. Good luck in the future.
So the 3 riders seesaw battle for the championship continues. Bradshaw goes back to the top. Stanton a point ahead of Bale as we head into the final 4 races of the season.
Look at the champagne shot. Miss Coors and Miss Campbell. Well, Miss Coors picking up a bottle of her own. She's getting revenge on what has happened to her the past couple of weeks. I'm not sure who's going to win that one, though.
Next stop on the tour, Las Vegas, Nevada. You'll see it next week on ESPN. Dave Despain for Larry Martin.